So you want to know how to make a prelude from scratch? I'm not always doing it like this, but it's definitely a rock-solid and fruitful strategy to just sketch out a bass line and to play a little bit around with it. The advantages of this procedure are obvious to me, as the bass line already outlines the whole harmonic and syntactical scaffolding of the piece, and one can fully concentrate on the foreground level with all the details. And beginners always tend to overcharge themselves by trying to organize foreground level elements and harmonic decisions at once in the same workflow. So here is my most basic harmonic template for this session. In the world of the pattern-based approach to tonal music that's called Partimento, this is an arrangement of some most common pre-formed building blocks. The first part is a rule of the octave excerpt, and it's a typical romantic move to jump right in from the dominant on the 7-1. There is another 7-1 that's tonicizing E minor, and I sometimes use secondary dominants to apply suspensions on the following local tonic. I enter that sequence as well via the leading note and draw it up to the point until I'm hitting the dominant. But as I want to postpone the final closing, I attach a deceptive cadence and rearrange the following definitive cadence from the 4 and eventually close with a plagal supplement. And that's gonna be my level 1 version. As stretching out a cadential 6/4 is a standard procedure in romantic music, I want to show some very standard exercises on this. This is a scale starting from the 3rd. One can as well start the scale from the 1st degree. Or do an arpeggio like this. In the prelude, I did a mixture of both. Now let's go back to the prelude, as I want to modify it a little. Everybody knows that any dominant degree in the rule of the octave can as well occur as diminished 7th chord. Apart from that, I transform that sequence into a dissonant cascade, which means that any previous 6th chord now becomes a 5/6 chord. Sounds like this. And I'm gonna attach a pumped up cadence where I try to realize more opulent prolongations by unfolding some of the final chords in larger arpeggios. That faux bourdon above the 5 is just another strategy to prolong a cadential 6/4 chord. Basically, I'm just pulling 6th chords throughout the harmonic minor scale until I hit the dominant that more or less resolves automatically. Now let's try to do a slightly more elaborated version of that prelude. The left hand now will serve as a real accompaniment, whilst the right hand is supposed to draw a little melody out of all this. So I just pick up a pretty standard left hand pattern. That sequence though will even receive more dissonances, as it's still possible to apply a ninth as well.
Fancy.
That's nice, isn't it? Yeah, alright, you got me. Always the annoying cops. In case you don't see or hear it, the sheer scaffolding produces parallel fifths, but I'd say this will be kinda licensed or legalized when dissolved into figuration. Now let's listen to the whole thing. When putting this to the paper, I noticed that in the left hand occurs a 7 tuplet. I definitely don't do this on purpose, it just runs out of my hands like this, but I love the rhythmical unrest it brings into the music. Have you ever wondered why Scriabin writes these awkward rhythms all the time? I believe at one point he decided to conserve traces of his outright improvisational habits in the written compositions, which makes his music so distinctive from others. And I find it especially interesting how this approach not just rose the complexity of romantic piano music to a new degree, but as well opened up a new horizon of rhythmical approaches to more advanced compositional experiments in general. Anyway, another thing that happens when writing out stuff afterwards is metrical issues. Some of you might have noticed some metrical oddities on the sequence. This sequence actually shouldn't look like this, and some really strict counterpoint police officer would ask,
"Isn't the ninth supposed to be on the downbeats?"
"You mean like as I presented it in the first place?" Well, yeah, but I don't give a sh. Let's better check an original example. I'm gonna take this circle of fifths that I guess everybody is familiar with. I assume that there's just very few people that took a closer look at this most beautiful circle of fifths, as this situation is kinda overshadowed by that infamous odd ending. As you can see, the chords of the ninth occur on the weak second half of the bar, and not just this, he's even doubling the dissonances. So Schumann obviously didn't really care. In other words, what goes for Baroque counterpoint doesn't necessarily go for Romantic counterpoint as well. Thanks for watching.